Every time we drive, we put our lives in danger, yet we assume we'll arrive at our destination safely. But there are some roads where the odds aren't in our favor.
Any rock could have your name on it. Makes the driving a little fun, but at the same time, there's a very real danger.
Each with its own set of perils.
Traffic backs up, someone gets impatient, starts passing, they can't see that there's a car in front of them, now you've got an accident.
On the world's deadly roads, science reveals the underlying factors governing who will live and who will die in our dangerous world. No matter where we live, our everyday lives depend on the roads we travel. Though easy to take for granted, any road can become a nightmare in the blink of an eye. Each year, approximately 1 million people die, and over 20 million are injured worldwide in road-related accidents. Accidents that are often the result of a danger equation, a combination of deadly factors that can transform a road from an everyday convenience into a death trap. From the endless stretches of the Australian outback to a deceptively deadly gambler's highway in the American West, killer roads can be found everywhere. But of all the dangerous roads in the world, perhaps the deadliest lies in the South American country of Bolivia. The Yungas Road runs 40 miles from the lowlands of the Amazon jungle to the Bolivian capital of La Paz at an elevation of about 12,000 feet. This route is cut into the eastern side of the second highest mountain range on Earth, the Andes. This crucial lifeline from the Amazon jungle brings goods like tropical fruits, coffee, and cocoa leaves to markets in the capital of La Paz. The Yungas Road is a roller coaster of twisting dirt, rock, and mud, turning every trip into an adrenaline-pumping adventure. This road is considered the most dangerous in the world in terms of deaths per mile, claiming up to 200 lives per year. For all travelers, the Yungas Road is a path into the unknown, marked by danger at every blind curve. Travelers driving this road face a danger equation created by the confluence of 3 factors: sheer topography, extreme climate, unstable geology. When these combine, the result is the most dangerous road on the planet. But drivers who survive are treated to one of the most breathtaking drives in the world. Canadian Jonathan Dirksen knows the Yungas Road's deadly beauty firsthand.
Well, I've been on the Yungas Road about maybe 50, 60 times since I first came to Bolivia. You never know what's going to happen.
February 1983. As a teenager living in La Paz, Dirksen and some friends travel the Yungas Road from La Paz down to a jungle retreat in the small town of Chulamani.
A group of friends and I, we rented a bus and we headed down into the Yungas. We were laughing, singing, and having a great time. Not even paying attention to the cliffs that were on either our right or our left.
As the driver navigates the Yungas Road's hairpin turns, the bus comes within inches of driving off the road. This is the most obvious peril facing every driver on the road. The first factor in the danger equation, the topography of a sheer cliff face. On one side lie vast drops, ranging from 20 feet to 3,000. On the other is a cliff wall reaching as high as the eye can see. The mountains running through Bolivia are extreme in their height and steepness. Here, peaks top out at over 21,000 feet, well above other parts of the Andes, and higher than all other mountain ranges in the world, except the Himalayas. The Andes run along a powerful volcanic zone where two tectonic plates meet.
What's been going on for at least 40 million years is the Nazca Plate, which is offshore, is subducting or going underneath the continent of South America.
Here, the fault zone lacks lubricating sediments. Without these sediments, the plates stick, creating additional friction.
It's that friction of the two plates against each other that eventually gets translated into the folding and the crustal shortening that causes the uplift of the mountain range.
As the Nazca Plate moves, it pushes the South American plate upward with enormous amounts of energy, creating high and steep peaks with extremely vertical slopes. And there's no way for Dirksen and his friends to avoid this treacherous topography as their bus drives the Youngest Road. Making this drive down not just a passageway, but a rite of passage. The modern-day Youngest Road began to take shape in the 1930s as POWs from Bolivia's war with its neighbor Paraguay were forced to work on road construction.
The roadway was very narrow because in the 1930s, the tracks were small and a 4-meter wide road was enough for them to move freely.
Times have changed, and modern trucks and buses dwarf their predecessors, requiring special rules of the road to avoid plummeting off the dangerous cliffs. It's a risk faced by dozens of trucks and buses traveling the road each day.
So you're coming around a corner, you come face to face with a truck. Well, you'd think that being the smaller car, you'd have to yield to the larger one. But on the Youngest Road, you get the right-of-way going up.
Vehicles traveling up the Youngest hug the rock wall and have the right-of-way. Anyone going downhill is forced to pass on the cliffside of the road, sometimes coming within inches of a 1,200-foot drop. When the road is too narrow for two vehicles, the truck traveling downhill must back up to a wider part of the road. For the uninitiated, it's a heart-stopping trip that gives you a front-row seat to the Andes' vertical splendor and a potential brush with death.
Sometimes there are little fender scrapes and whatnot, but usually people make it.
Though he knows its dangers, Dirksen understands the rewards of driving this route.
Driving down the Youngest Road is truly a unique experience. And what's wonderful about it is that you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. There's not a boring moment. And the smells, the clouds rising up from below, the rattle of your car as it makes its way around a corner, not knowing if a car is going to meet you coming around that corner, all those things really heighten your senses, and you find yourself wondering if you're going to make it down alive. And really, it doesn't matter how many times you travel it, the thrill stays.
The importance of this treacherous road can be seen in the thriving markets of La Paz.
Todo esto viene de los Yungas, ¿no? Sí.
Almost all the goods that you see here are typical of the produce that comes from the Youngest Road located on the east side of the Andes. You see everything from potatoes and corn and carrots.
No recuerdo el nombre. ¿De qué parte? ¿De Chilumani? Caranal.
Without that road, without that lifeline, this market behind me simply wouldn't exist.
The Youngest Road doesn't just carry produce, it also supplies the valuable coca markets. Bolivians use these leaves for tea, chewing, and sacred rituals. Coca is also the main ingredient of cocaine. Although coca leaves are legal, processing them into cocaine is not. To stop illegal drug trafficking, Bolivian authorities patrol the main roadways, including the Youngest Road. Near La Paz, There are checkpoints where police check drivers' ID cards and search passing vehicles for smuggled cocaine. Teenager Jonathan Dirksen and his friends have been traveling for about an hour. As the driver winds past the steep cliffs, clouds rise up along the mountain face. The weather begins to change, bringing them face to face with the Youngest Road's second danger factor, extreme climate. As if it's not bad enough for the Youngest Road to twist along hairpin turns on narrow ledges, the huge altitude change from the top to the bottom creates a whole new challenge.
The weather along the Youngest Road is variable at best. There can be times when you're driving along the Youngest Road and you can see the jungle below and so on, and have a nice little view going on. And then 20 seconds later, you're suddenly enveloped in clouds and you can't see 30 feet in front of you.
The Youngest drops over 11,000 feet in the course of only 40 zigzagging miles. At the base of the road lies the moisture-rich Amazon jungle. At the top are snow-covered peaks with sub-freezing temperatures and perpetual snow. Cool air descending from the snowy peaks collides with warm water-filled air from the Amazon rising along the walls of the eastern Andes.
As it hits the mountain wall and rises over the top, it cools and rains, and rains, and rains.
It can make for very dangerous driving because you've got muddy roads, you have slick rock surfaces, and you have water coming down over the road as well. In places you even have waterfalls.
These unstable and unpredictable weather conditions can turn a scenic drive into a deadly one. The combination of these two danger factors, sheer topography and extreme climate, trigger a chain of events trapping Jonathan Dirksen and his fellow passengers. Halfway through their trip, the Andes' fickle weather begins to change.
It was fine up until the pass. At 15,000 feet, still pretty clear.
As clouds billow up from the Amazon jungle thousands of feet below, rain begins to pound down on them.
It happened pretty fast. Like within moments, we heard a grinding sound.
The wheels lose traction on the slippery road, and the driver loses control. As the bus slides toward oblivion, the driver slams it to a stop just as it reaches the abyss. Stopped, but far from safe. In front of them is a vertical drop of over 1,000 feet, and under them, the road starts to give way. Half a world away in Australia is the Air Highway, over 1,500 miles long. This is the main trucking route connecting the port cities of Adelaide and Perth. Here in the desolate southern outback, disaster stalks every traveler. But unlike the Youngest Road, this route doesn't kill with its height or winding curves. It kills with its perpetual straightness. It's one of the remotest roads in the world. In this part of the outback, towns are hundreds of miles apart. If you crash out here, you're on your own. Cell phones are useless and passing vehicles infrequent. Walking into the hot, dry outback, crawling with venomous and deadly creatures, is almost certain death. Since 1998, more than a dozen people have been killed on the Air Highway and over 100 injured. Drivers face this road's danger equation, a harrowing set of 3 factors: flat topography, human physiology, and massive trucks called road trains. When these combine, the result is danger in the outback. More than a day into their trip, 4 friends packed into a small SUV journey from their homes in Perth to Australia's eastern states. Taking advantage of the cooler night air, they travel under a clear, dark sky. The road is dry. The endless line of the Air Highway unfolds in front of the driver. The first danger factor lies in the flat topography. The air highway is the straightest, flattest road in the world. Built on the Nullarbor Plain, the entire area is the largest block of limestone on the planet, created millions of years ago by an ancient ocean. With few rivers, little rain, and no major tectonic activity, natural forces have left this area virtually untouched, creating a landscape that is endlessly flat and barren. While engineers design many long roads with turns, avoiding towns and difficult terrain, the air cuts straight through the most desolate stretches of Australia. This region is sparsely inhabited and almost perfectly flat. The result is the longest stretch of uninterrupted highway in the world. "10:30 at night. Four friends press ahead on their journey eastward. The endless flat landscape of the air highway might appear safe, but ironically, when combined with the second danger factor, human physiology, the hazards increase. The lack of visual stimulation, even during daylight hours, seduces drivers to sleep.
The road is very straight and it can be very monotonous. Managing the fatigue is what we do. I think every driver at one stage is nodded off.
So I'm just wiring you up with the EEG.
Australian sleep researcher Sarah Biggs investigates how drivers succumb to sleep on Australia's air highway.
Well, these ones here will measure your eye movement, so they will tell us when your eyes start to get droopy.
She places test subjects in a driving simulation of the air highway. The computer program causes the same hypnotic effect on the brain as the roadway. Though this simulator appears low-tech, the data Sarah collects is cutting edge.
Fatigue on the air highway especially is quite a huge problem. The air highway is a long road, it's very straight, there's not much to look at. And some people will slip into what's called a highway hypnosis, which is basically like a trance.
Sarah discovers that it takes just 30 minutes or less on the simulator before subjects fall into what is known as microsleep.
Microsleep is when you spontaneously go to sleep for a few seconds. You're not aware that it's happening and your body will just shut down.
This is horrific news for drivers on the air highway. Microsleep can cause blank stares, head snapping, and prolonged eye closures. During a bout of microsleep lasting 5 seconds, a vehicle moving 60 miles per hour travels over 400 feet, longer than the length of a football field. More than enough time and distance to cause deadly consequences.
The myths out there about rolling down the window, using the radio and loud music, they don't actually work. Research has shown that rolling down the window and keeping your radio on really does not help your driving at all when you're fatigued. The most effective thing you can do is to have a 15-minute nap, and your performance will improve and you'll be much more alert.
Four friends travel through the air highway's endless stretches to Australia's eastern states. As the night wears on, the driver fights off the hypnotic effects of microsleep, but he still has one more of the air highway's danger factors to contend with. The kings of this road, the world's longest tractor trailers that locals call road trains. These mega rigs can haul up to 3 trailers and measure over 150 feet, more than twice as long as the largest semis driving the American highways. Weighing up to 127 tons, they are formidable obstacles, big enough to frighten even experienced drivers. Passing one takes skill, luck, and a little help from the drivers themselves. Road train drivers use their turn signals to alert other drivers when the way is clear to pass. But these massive trucks create another, less obvious peril. Strong wind currents able to destabilize cars, pushing them off the road. As your car speeds towards a road train, it hits a wall of air pushed by the truck, like the bow wave from a speedboat. Once through this initial wall of air, opposite forces take effect created by low pressure behind the truck. Like a vacuum, these forces suck in the surrounding air, possibly pulling your car towards the road train's wheels. When an unfortunate driver encounters the full impact of the air highway's danger factors, the resulting equation can be tragic. About 11:30 at night, the small SUV is 30 miles from the outback town of Kimba. After fighting off the combination of the endless topography and the resulting microsleep, the driver notices a set of taillights in front of him. As he begins to brake, a massive set of headlights from an approaching vehicle fills the rear-view mirror. A fast-moving road train slams into the back of their four-wheeler, pushing it off the highway with enough force to flip it over. In this tragic case, the deadly confluence of the road's danger factors combined to take a human life. One passenger dies, but miraculously the other three survive. The driver of the road train claims that he didn't remember hitting the car, perhaps an unknowing victim of microsleep. When this accident is reported, the guardian angels of the air highway fly to the rescue, helping to save 3 out of the 4 passengers. They are Australia's Royal Flying Doctors.
Maintaining follow 130.
A team of highly skilled trauma doctors, nurses, and pilots using flying ambulances to rescue people in the most remote parts of Australia. Once they receive word of an accident, the medical teams can get to any point on the highway in less than 2 hours.
In times past, people would have to travel hundreds of kilometres by ambulance, whereas now we have access to the highway for the road strips, and a patient be from a remote area to a major city hospital in about 4 hours.
The flying doctors evacuate thousands of emergency patients a year on Australia's roads, helping to keep the air highway from becoming more perilous than it already is. To stop accidents from occurring on this stretch of highway, road construction engineers work to make it safer. To this end, the Australian government is pumping millions of dollars into widening the highway, giving drivers a better chance of surviving an encounter with a passing road train. To combat the dangers of microsleep, scientists are developing an onboard computer system that will alert a drowsy driver with a loud alarm. Until these solutions are in place, the carnage on this road will continue. As long as the air highway remains a 1,500-mile straight line stretching endlessly toward the distant horizon, the road's design may continue to take its toll on Australia's drivers. In the towering Andes of South America, drivers face the most fearsome road on the planet. Bolivia's Yungas Road is the main artery supplying goods to the world's highest capital, La Paz, sitting at 12,000 feet above sea level. Each trip on this road is a gamble. This torturous 40-mile stretch cut into a sheer cliff face kills up to 200 people each year. February 1983. Teenager Jonathan Dirksen and a group of friends travel in a bus down the Yungas Road on their way to the Amazon jungle. The weather is fine and their mood is light.
We were laughing, singing, and having a great time. Not even paying attention to the cliffs that were on either our right or our left.
As the driver winds around harrowing turns, little do they know that the bus is heading into the youngest road's danger equation, created by sheer topography, extreme climate, and unstable geology. When these factors combine, the result is the most dangerous road in the world. On the youngest road, the first danger factor is sheer topography. It has deadly drops on one side and a vertical cliff wall on the other. In most places, this road is a mere 10 feet wide, about the same width as a shoulder on a US highway, giving drivers no leeway for error.
On one side, you're going to have about a 1,200-foot drop-off, and your chances of surviving that are nil.
The cliffs are made even more deadly by the second danger factor, extreme climate. As you travel the road, the weather can change dramatically within minutes, from clear skies to downpour, making the road wet and slippery and limiting visibility. When topography combines with the extreme and variable climate, the youngest road ensnares travelers in the blink of an eye. As Dirksen and his friends descend on the youngest road, the weather changes and rain pours down. The wheels slip and the bus goes out of control, heading for the precipice. As the friends slide towards possible death, their driver regains control at the last second, slamming to a stop inches from a sheer 1,200-foot drop. The bus teeters on the brink. The students are deathly afraid.
We had actually stopped with one wheel hanging over the edge of the cliff.
They're still in jeopardy. Add the third danger factor, unstable geology, into the equation, and the result is terrifying. The road could give way at any moment, sweeping them all into the abyss below. On his first trip down the youngest road, Jonathan Dirksen and his brother came face to face with the treacherous power of this unstable geology.
Well, the first time that I came down, we were driving a Jeep of some kind. On the road, it was raining. There was a lot of slide action. We had come to a new slide. Rocks were still coming down the slope. And the bulldozer was working the slide. And rocks were still coming down. We could see them sliding slowly down the steep slope.
They decide to make a run for it.
And as we drove past, we hear this thundering boom, and our vehicle was knocked sideways and off the road into the mud and bit of jungle below. And we saw the boulder that hit us rolled back down into the jungle. Must have been about the size of it was almost the size of a small car. So had it been another foot or two, we'd probably all been killed.
Dirksen was lucky to make it down the youngest road alive on his first trip, escaping the fate of an untold number of victims who have been swept by landslides into the abyss. This third danger factor of unstable geology, coupled with extreme topography and drenching rains, creates the perfect conditions for catastrophic landslides.
You know, there have been times when our car has been knocked sideways or smacked on the top with a boulder, and you have no idea what hit you. It hits you fast, and your reaction time is zero.
Every day, many slides rip across the youngest road, helping to push dozens of cars over the edge, killing large numbers of people each year. In spite of the danger, the youngest road is a major artery used by hundreds of people each day, including geologist and mining engineer Scotty Bruce.
I had no idea of what I was getting into when I went to the youngest. The very first time we went, a landslide, which must have been 300 feet long. And we had some of the locals actually lift the car and virtually carry it over the landslide.
Landslides have less of an impact if a road is built on a stable rock foundation like granite.
We don't have that in the Yungas. We have more a softer type rock or a weaker type rock. The road to the Yungas, I would say in general, is weak.
The Andes' unstable geology can be traced back to 65 million years ago. Before the mountains were formed, an ancient ocean covered this part of South America.
The part of the Andes that's traversed by the Yungas Road is underlain and made up mostly of Paleozoic shales. These are rocks that were formed on the ocean floor.
For thousands of years, sediments collected on the ocean floor, creating layers of clay. These layers compressed and hardened into a sedimentary rock called shale.
And these shales are made almost entirely of clays. Clay minerals are thin and slippery, and when they get wet especially, they slip and slide over each other and make this a very treacherous medium.
Water is able to seep into these shale formations, making them heavy.
The fact that it's so steep contributes a lot to the rate of erosion, because the steeper the hillside, the easier it is for things to roll down it.
As the rock becomes saturated with water, the layers shear at weak points, causing landslides.
Get a little blockage there, the water builds up, the pressure builds up, and down it comes.
Landslides are so frequent throughout the Yungas that front loaders and bulldozers stand at the ready. Along the road, rocks fall often, forcing workers to stop traffic and clear the way, underscoring the danger facing drivers at every turn. The steep terrain, coupled with the rain and the resulting landslides, have trapped Jonathan Dirksen and a group of friends in a danger equation. The weight of the bus could easily trigger a landslide. If the weak geology under the road gives way, the bus and teenagers will plunge over a 1,000-foot cliff. 5,000 miles north of Bolivia, in Southern California, lies another deadly road, Route 138, the Pear Blossom Highway, located about 20 miles west of Los Angeles. This 115-mile stretch is an artery from Los Angeles to the high desert and Las Vegas. It's a gambler's highway taking weekenders from the City of Angels to Sin City. The Pear Blossom is a typical American highway, traveled day in and day out by thousands of motorists, but looks can be deceiving. This road's rolling terrain lulls drivers into a false sense of security. On the Pear Blossom, a sublime ride can quickly turn into a driver's nightmare. Those willing to travel this route are gambling with their lives. In a 5-year period, 20 people died on the Pear Blossom Highway and over 160 were injured. Victims of the road's danger equation, created by increased traffic, rolling topography, and road engineering. When these three factors combine, the result is a road that locals call Blood Alley. On a beautiful California day, a 31-year-old mother of 3 drives along the Pear Blossom Highway after bringing tools to her husband stranded with a broken-down truck. She's an inexperienced driver without a license, navigating the Pear Blossom's subtle dangers. As she travels along the highway, she faces the first danger factor of increased traffic that dangerously overwhelms the highway's capacity. The Pear Blossom was built originally as a wagon trail and developed into a sleepy 2-lane desert road starting in the 1930s. Until recently, few drove this narrow strip through the California desert.
Now it's a major commuter route between Los Angeles and the high desert. got increased traffic, increased truck traffic because of the distribution that goes on between LA and the high desert. And this is a bit of a shortcut that avoids the freeways.
Since the 1950s, traffic on the Pear Blossom has increased by over 30,000 vehicles per year. Fast-moving commuters and 18-wheelers speed by each other with only a few feet between them. The highway's design hasn't changed to accommodate the increased traffic, giving drivers almost no room for error. Especially when they're confronted by the road's second danger factor, rolling topography. Like many dangerous roads, the layout of the land or the topography contributes to their perilous nature. The Pear Blossom Highway cuts across a stretch of mountainous desert. At some points, it winds among hills and rocky outcroppings, and at others, it crosses rugged scrubland. In the desert, infrequent rains create flash floods that wash away parts of the roadway, resulting in black spots or huge dips that can seemingly swallow cars, hiding them from oncoming traffic. Accident reconstructionist David Eisenbeis studies the effects of these conditions of the road. In many places, he finds that the highway ripples up and down like a wave.
Rolling hills present themselves as a problem with the roadway. But what it does is it limits your sight distance. Sight distance is the amount of available vision you have to see the oncoming traffic you're going to pass.
Research shows that drivers moving at 50 miles per hour need about 1,900 feet of sight distance, the distance when two cars are visible to each other as they approach. If a driver attempts to pass in a zone with less than 1,900 feet of sight, the human body can't react in time, resulting in a possible accident.
But with the sight distance of the hill, traffic backs up, someone gets impatient, starts passing, they can't see that there's a car in front of them, now you've got an accident.
As the mother travels along the Pear Blossom Highway, possibly overreacting to a vehicle emerging out of a black spot, the driver startles. Avoiding traffic in the oncoming lane, she swerves onto the shoulder, confronting the Pear Blossom's third and most hazardous danger factor, road engineering. The most perilous danger factor is something most drivers never give a second thought: the shoulder of the highway. On the Pear Blossom, it's just a narrow strip of dirt, in many places less than 2 feet wide, not nearly enough room for a car to pull off the highway. In the event of avoiding a head-on collision, drivers have to choose between hitting oncoming traffic or driving off the road. If drivers veer onto the shoulder, they face two dangers. First, a critical change in friction from the asphalt to the dirt shoulder. Wheels grip the highway's pavement better than the soft dirt.
You get off on a dirt shoulder, it's hard to control your car. Most people aren't prepared for the change in friction between the pavement and the shoulder, so they get off on the shoulder, they lose traction, and they lose control.
The best way to regain control is to remount the pavement, but on the Pear Blossom, that isn't always easy.
This location, the most dangerous thing I see is this edge of pavement drop-off right here.
The second danger is that the Pear Blossom has a drop-off from the pavement to the shoulder.
You can only mount this pavement if you've got your wheels turned at such an angle to where you're going to be out of control as soon as you do mount the pavement. Likely go across the center line. Likely get in a head-on accident. Typical of a lot of the accidents on the Pear Blossom Highway.
Successfully navigating the shoulder and the drop-off can be the difference between life and death. Exactly what a young mother of three faces as she drives down the Pear Blossom Highway. As she navigates the highway's black spots, she swerves off the pavement onto the narrow shoulder. Her tires struggle to grip the dirt. Mounting the drop-off, she veers back and forth, narrowly avoiding oncoming traffic. Unable to regain control, she careens off the road. Her truck plunges 30 feet down a steep bank into the fast-moving California aqueduct. On this tragic day, a young woman lost her life, illustrating the destructive power of the Pear Blossom Highway. Forensic engineers' analyses of multiple accidents over the past decades have determined there are several basic solutions necessary to shatter this roadway's deadly equation. First, to combat the highway's unforgiving geography, build adequate shoulders so that drivers can pull their car completely out of the lane of traffic and onto the shoulder safely. Second, create barriers or rumble strips to reduce driver error and potentially prevent cars from recklessly passing within the highway's black spots, or even better, add new lanes. But until changes are fully implemented, the highway may continue to live up to its deadly nickname, Blood Alley. In South America, the world's most deadly road snakes through Bolivia's Andes Mountains. The Yungas Road descends 11,000 feet from La Paz, the highest national capital in the world, to the Amazon jungle below in 40 heart-stopping miles. This torturous route kills up to 200 people each year, ensnaring drivers in a danger equation created by sheer topography, extreme climate, and unstable geology. When these three danger factors collide, the result is the world's most dangerous road. Here, the first danger factor of sheer topography creates 1,200-foot drops. The second factor, extreme climate, can turn the road into a wet, slippery mess, blinding drivers to perils ahead. The third danger factor, unstable geology, unleashes catastrophic landslides, turning the Yungas Road into a nightmare, where every drive might be your last. Three hours into their journey, the bus carrying longtime Bolivian resident Jonathan Dirksen and a group of friends negotiates the Yungas Road's narrow turns and steep slopes. As they descend from the capital city of La Paz, the area's unpredictable weather changes and rain drenches the road, making it slick and muddy. Coming around a turn, the wheels slip and the bus goes out of control. The bus slams to a stop just as it reaches the abyss. With their wheels pressing on the weak edge of the road, their bus hangs on the brink of a 1,200-foot precipice. At any moment, the rain-soaked rocks on the steep slopes could give way, creating a landslide, sending everyone in the bus plummeting over the cliff.
The bus driver was yelling, get off, quick!" And he opened the door and we ran off as fast as we could.
What they find outside is equally terrifying.
We had actually stopped with one wheel hanging over the edge of the cliff.
Rocks begin to slide as they struggle to push the bus back from the edge. The passengers slowly move the bus to safety. Lucky to be alive, it's an experience none of them will ever forget.
It was one of those things that shakes you to the core even though you're young.
Jonathan and his friends drive away with their lives and live to tell their story almost 25 years later. But every year, up to 200 people can't escape the Yungas Road's danger equation. The only permanent solution to this carnage may be forging a better route. The Bolivian government started rebuilding the Yungas Road in the 1970s, but it wasn't until 1995 that the construction started on a new road. One that traverses less treacherous topography and, in the most extreme terrain, tunnels through the mountains. Using thick concrete and drainage channels to divert the rain from the road, Authorities hope these improvements will make the trip from La Paz to the Amazon significantly safer. Locals who do use the youngest road must also rely on their own homegrown solutions. One of the most unique, a series of semaphoras, or human stoplights, stationed on the worst hairpin turns. When the driver has the right of way, the semaphora waves a green flag and yells libre, or free, allowing the vehicle to proceed. When the road is blocked, she waves a red flag and blows a whistle, alerting drivers to stop. As drivers pass, the semaphora updates them on the road conditions. In return, they may give her a few coins. In the end, the best protection might be divine. At La Cumbre, the highest point in the road, two religious protectors stand sentry, ready to aid the weary or wary traveler. The first is a statue of Jesus, arms outstretched. The second is a streamer-draped cross, where locals can make a chala, or offering, with the aid of a local shaman.
Tierra Pachamama con tu mamá se llama no lo que nosotros siempre andamos, viajamos por yungas como será Oruro, Cochabamba, Santa Cruz.
Using two llama fetuses and other offerings like beer and grain alcohol, this shaman mixes local religious traditions with Catholicism to perform rites of protection for drivers and their vehicles.
Padre nuestro que estás en santificado sea tu nombre, venga tu reino, a la Pachamama, cuestión como decir Pachamama, a los ceros que llamamos achachilas, malcos, tallas, como decir, tierra Pachamama con tu mamá se llama no lo que nosotros.
But as long as Bolivians and travelers alike must brave the Yungas Road's danger equation, it will remain the world's most deadly road. A variety of factors can combine anytime, anywhere to create a danger equation with deadly results. Whether it's the dizzying heights of the Bolivian Andes, the dangers of the desolate Australian outback, or the everyday peril of an overtaxed desert road in California, science helps us unravel the underlying causes, making this a dangerous world.